Hey guys, welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Tuesday, January the 7th, 2025, and I was going to say as always, but just as always for this week, I've got my old mate Ronny Picken here. Welcome to Walking Boxing again, mate.
I'm a poor substitute for Neil, mate.
You are. You're a little bit more obedient than him, but it's been good so far. So we're on our way down to the exhibition centre at the moment. The weigh-in, it's been pretty good so far, hasn't it?
Well, to me, this is when the excitement starts, mate. Like weigh-in today, fight tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is down to the nitty-gritty business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really good. Looking forward to it, mate. Really.
Yeah, and you get the impression yesterday, of course, we're at the press conference and then the Q&A. The press conference, you could tell that Jai was just a little bit on edge, couldn't you?
Didn't want to be there, mate.
He said that too.
He said, I want to fight. Let's forget all this rubbish. I just want to fight. So, mate, and listen to the other bloke as well. I think we're in for a cracking fight, mate.
Yeah, he's well, they call him the nice guy, David, in Nyika, and he is a legitimate nice guy, but
Through the ropes.
You just get the feeling that he's steeled himself for this fight and set himself, haven't you?
He's absolutely driven. You know, I didn't know much about him until we got up here, mate, but, you know, I haven't sort of spoken to him a little bit and heard his conferences and that. He's no joke.
And look, probably the thing that's been said the most, and I admit I've probably said it myself, that, you know, I don't think he's ready yet. But when are you ready? Yeah. I mean, you get offered a world title fight, and even Eddie Hearn said, and his trainer said as well, okay, well, if they had a timeline on his career and what they were looking at, that this wouldn't be the time they were looking for a shot at a world title. But at the end of the day, fate steps in sometimes. He's got his opportunity, and he's pretty much he's got to take the fight.
Well, at this level, mate, and you know better than I do, one punch can change a fight. So you know, if he sets things up, and you just never know. Like well, look at our dear Lionel Rose, mate, back in the day with Harada. He wasn't supposed to win.
Well, exactly right. I mean, and Cambosis and Lopez, we've got Horn and Pacquiao, we've got Harding and Andrees, you name it.
The sport's riddled with it.
Famechon, Legras.
That's right.
It's not just Australian boxing, of course. It's been over the journey.
But it proves the point we're talking about.
Yeah, Andy Ruiz over Anthony Joshua. I mean, it happens, but Jesus, got to be careful along here, don't you? It's supposed to be a walkway.
I told you yesterday, mate, they're feral.
They are feral. But look, it has been good with everyone concerned. As I said, Jai has been a little bit moody, I suppose you'd call it. But
well,
I think
he's cutting weight, mate. Like, you know,
I think we spoke about it yesterday, and I actually mentioned, like, I was only an amateur when I fought. So I just imagine what it's like can only imagine what it's like at this level. But it's about this time you get irritable, you start to cut weight. You've had a long training camp, you're sore, you're tired, you're sick of everything, you just want to get in there. And I could just imagine again what it would be like at Jai's level with a fight of this magnitude, with the pressure that he's not the most outgoing type of guy either. So I can probably imagine that at this stage he's just had enough.
Yeah, everything you said's correct.
Actually, it's a bit like you at night when we get back to the apartment until you've had your block of chocolate. That's what it sort of. Yeah. That's sort of what it reminds me of. Get this guy a Snickers or something, and then
I love your sense of humour.
He turns from what is it, the Incredible Hulk back to Eric Banner, or whatever his name. Yeah, just slow down, buddy. Thick wad. But yeah, so it's.
Well, look, mate, it's a tough sport, like, and there's so much involved in it. And, you know, besides the fighting of it, at his level, with so many questions asking him to perform and how he feels he's going to go, like, he's absolutely sick of it.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is fight.
What was what sort of took me back? Yes, got my attention, I should say, is that at the Q&A that we went to, and it was good because what it wasn't like the press conference. It was just a sit down with Mick Francis, Eddie Hearn, and Max McIntyre, Justice Honey, and Connor Wallace. That was just a little informal chat, and it was good to actually get some comments from Eddie. And one of the things I really enjoyed, and as I said, sort of took notice of, was when he spoke about the fact he's got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Jai Opetatai, and that Jai thought that he'd set him up to fail in the Jordan Thompson fight. and Jai wasn't happy with the choice of opponent, the fact that he wasn't staying at a hotel with all the other guys, and I don't think that was a massive issue. I don't think Jai gets too hung up on hotels and that sort of stuff, but whatever it was, he thought, and I think he even brought Mick Francis a little bit into the conversation as well about Jai not being happy with him about the fight, and then he walked out, that iconic walkout that he did when he just looked so pissed off, and he went out and knocked Jordan Thompson out in one round. But Eddie said he got in the ring and went to congratulate Jai, and Jai in no uncertain terms told him to piss off and leave it, and gave him the spear. But I thought that was funny, but I mean, they laughed it off, and obviously they're good and they get along really well, but I just thought that was good. Eddie said he just stays right away from Jai in the lead up to the fight. But
I think Jai just carries his heart on his sleeve, mate. He doesn't care. That's how he feels, and that's how he's going to take. You know, he's no bum kisser, mate. That's for sure.
He just has that look about him, though, doesn't he?
Mate.
It's like you've stole something from him, isn't it? Like the nicest guy, but you can see he does it through gritted teeth. But look, I know we've probably talked about that a fair bit over the last few days, but it was interesting to hear him say yesterday, I've had enough of this shit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I just want to fight.
No cutting corners, mate. This is how it is.
And after the press conference, I had to do the face-off, and Jai just walked off. And Eddie, you could see he was like, Jai, you got to come back. But it was like, Mick Francis was like, just leave it alone, Eddie. I'll handle Jai. And he went and got him and brought him back. And the way he walked up to David Nyika, I thought it might have been on right there and then, but because he definitely meant business. But to his credit, David Nyika actually stood his ground. And,
he did, mate.
Yeah,
he did.
And the size of Nyika, looking down to,
it's a big unit.
And they're just different types of body types.
Shapes, right, exactly right. We made comment about that a couple of days back. Yeah.
You got Jai, who's not the most defined guy, but he's obviously in great condition.
Yeah.
But not the most defined guy. Then you've got David Nyika, who's absolutely just cut to pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him in the open session now. I'm saying, God, this bloke's an athlete.
Yeah, he does. He's got got a good physique, but it's almost like looking into a mirror, Ronnie.
Yeah, listen, mate. Cut the comedy.
All right, now the other thing that we learnt yesterday was that Austin Akuso, he's pulled out of his fight with Letty. Yeah, apparently he's got a back injury or something. I did hear there had been at least one fight that had been pulled, and I was asked last night on Talking Boxing what were some of the fights I was looking forward to seeing, and that was
one of them.
Actually, one of them.
Yeah,
and someone pointed out, well, you realise the fight's been cancelled. So
have they found a replacement for him?
No, it's too late now, obviously. So,
wow, that's big news.
But that would have been a really good fight. Letty's a good fight. Obviously, gave Conor Wallace his only defeat. Well, he beat Conor Wallace and then lost the rematch to him. But a dangerous opponent. And I must admit, I was surprised that they put Austin Akuso in with him in the first place, because obviously he could fight beating Conor Wallace, and Austin is not very inexperienced, but inexperienced compared to, I think, some of the other fighters.
He's only new on the scene, isn't he?
He is, yeah, and obviously the brother
But you can see he's got ability.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's the old story, mate. Is he in too early or what? You know.
Yeah,
I suppose sometimes, mate, they've got to step up and see how they go.
Yeah, but either way.
Wow, that's big news, man. I didn't know about that at all.
Letty not happy at all about it and ventured on social. And you can't blame him.
It's a 12-week camp.
You can't blame him after, long camp and everything else. So, anyway, we're just heading to the weigh now, and we'll see what transpires there. Hopefully everyone makes the weight. And
that's disappointing.
It is.
Oh.
Mate, what I actually wanted to, we'll just,
tread water.
Yeah, just get out of the way.
Elbows in, please.
What I wanted to ask you about today, now we've spoken about it a fair bit just over the journey. I want to, for our legion of fans out there that have been hanging for you to come on the show,
right.
I want you to tell us a little bit about back in the day. I know we talk about it just off the cuff every now and then, but I want you to go back to the days, was it the 60s, 70s? Now, if you didn't actually know about Ronnie, he actually had 6 pro fights.
He's an old bastard.
Yeah, 6 pro fights. Now, on Box Record only says 1 fight, but apparently he had 6.
Lying.
But you were part of, let's just say, the golden age where back, we're just talking Melbourne boxing here. We don't know what it was like. I'm assuming it was the same all over the country, but
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the story. But you told me about back in the day where every Friday night the fights would be on at Festival Hall. They were always packed, and it was just a different time. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, that's the key, mate. I mean, even when I was growing up, younger, my aunties and uncles, they would talk of the likes of Big Patrick and Tommy Burns and Frankie Flannery and all these guys. So I sort of come onto the scene in the late 50s and used to go to Festival Hall every Friday night. And, mate, honestly, you know, they might have 4 3-rounders, four, right up to the 12-rounders. It was just, honestly, I just feel blessed to be a part of that sort of scene.
And I've asked you this question before, like in the day where there was no, obviously, internet or social media or anything like that, and it was just all about the newspaper. It wasn't even about that, is it? Everyone just knew Friday night was fight night at Festival Hall.
Well, you just have to say back in the day, it was footy, cricket and boxing, and that's how popular it was. But I think, you know, 60 years later, mate, things have changed in Melbourne because it's become more cosmopolitan, there's more things for people to do, this, that and the other. But, you know, as I sort of said to you, like Friday night fights, a full card, and the likes of Georgie, I just couldn't wait to get there, mate. Georgie Bracken, Aldo Provenzani, Gilberto Bioni, Johnny Famechon. It was just a golden era, and just feel blessed to be part of it.
And there was no, well, as I said, there was no internet or anything, and it's really hard for a lot of people to get their heads around.
It's a different boxing scene altogether, mate.
But everyone knew who was fighting. And
certainly. Because what would happen at the end of the program that night, the announcer would get in the ring and say, well, next week we've got somebody headlining and the undercard will be this. And so people didn't know. But not only that, people were die-hard fans, mate. Like, they didn't have to be told, would it? Wouldn't matter if you and I were fighting, made their turn up.
That's the big difference, isn't it? That's what we spoke about as a former promoter myself. The difficult task of getting people there that aren't just family and friends, to actually get fight fans to go, and it's almost impossible these days on the smaller shows, that is.
100%.
Back in the day it wasn't like that. It was like going to the footy, wasn't it?
Well, geez, I mean, George Bracken, when he fought, mate, and let's say Aldo Provenzani, and even Auburn Copeland, you couldn't fit a caraway seat in the place, mate. And I think it was about 5,000 people there. And as I say, mate, you're lucky to get in. If you didn't get there early, mate, you were shot to pieces.
So is that what sort of crowds they had there? About 5,000 people?
Well, I think Festival Hall holds about 5,000, and there wasn't a spare seat.
Now tell us also as well about, you've described it a few times, that a little bit different to these days with the start of the night when the lights come down.
Mate. Well, yeah, as I say, it's all different now. But
so explain how that used to happen back then.
Well, I'll just speak from personal experience. Maybe the first fight, I was first fight on the night, and the arena was in dim darkness. So you hopped in the ring, and they had these big arc lights that used to come down. They're like big surgical lights, and then the hall would go dark black, and that the only light would be in the ring, and it was just, look, mate, as I say.
And they had the gloves. Did you say that?
Well, for the main event, they used to place the gloves in the middle of the ring, and the boxers would come in, and the gloves were supplied by Stadiums Limited. I think they were an Eagle brand, and they were laced up in front of the crowd, which was, you know, something to see in itself. And of course, as we spoke yesterday, the gloves that weren't taped.
And no tape on the gloves.
And that's where the term healing come in, you know, with the laces and that sort of stuff. So it was just.
And what about the days of, obviously then later on, TV ringside came in? So when was that, the 70s?
Well, they sort of resurrected it. I mean, boxing probably died off, I don't know, mid-60s or something. I wasn't getting the same sort of numbers. And then Ron Casey come on board, who was a fabulous
legendary Ron
commentator.
Casey,
And he introduced TV ringside, and then that just produced another generation of Australian boxers. And then we've got the likes of Leo Young and these sort of fellas coming through. Paul Ferrari, who fought for a world title, Commonwealth champion. Bobby Dunn, Les Dunn, and all these sort of fellas. It was just, he carried the flame, carried the torch.
And tell me about your experience there. You said, we said 6 fights, of course. Tell me about your first fight that you had at Festival Hall.
Like a dog shit and razor blades, mate.
Well, tell us about the experience.
Well,
went undefeated, by the way, didn't you? 6-0?
No, 1 draw.
1 draw. There you go.
That was out of Pentridge, by the way.
Yeah.
Look, as I say, I think I said to you yesterday, mate, I only got on as an emergency. So I might have got on, I mightn't have got on, but I managed to get on first fight of the night. And 17 years of age. and probably been in the gym for a month, so it just shows you how things have changed, mate. Like 1 month's training from coming from the streets to actually boxing. And of course, when the bell goes, mate, you're feral. You forget all.
Tell us I know it's a long time ago. What were you feeling when you walked out to the crowd and the lights dim and?
Well, if I'm being honest about it, mate, when those big lights come down, if I could have got out of the ring, I would have. Because I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I'm just basically 17 years of age, but oh, geez, mate. Honestly, if I could, I'd have them days back in a heartbeat.
These days, of course, I mean, I think we all agree that the current state of Australian boxing is the best it's been in a long, long time. What about someone of your vintage, I'll say?
Yeah, no,
how do you see today's boxing and the fight nights and the way it's marketed and everything else to what it was back in say the 60s when Festival Hall was thriving?
Well, the big difference for me is, mate, and it's fair. Everything's fair. But the amount of fights these days you have to fight for a world title. You've got fellas having 10 or 12 pro fights. Maybe they've come out of the Emmas, okay, and they're fighting for a world title. Back when I was kicking around in the late 50s and early 60s, some guy, well, look at Johnny Famishon, mate. He had some like 50-something pro fights, and he was about 40 pro fights into his career before he fought Legrand, something like that. So, yeah.
1 belt, 8 divisions back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly right, 100%. Yeah, but so that's the big difference for me, mate. And I wouldn't sort of say it's blokes earning their stripes, because today's boxing's different.
Well, they fought as a job back then, didn't they? It was like they fought every couple of weeks, where these days they have 2 fights a year.
Very, very rarely in Australia, mate, were they full-time professionals. Maybe there might have been a few, I couldn't name them, but most guys had day-to-day jobs. A bit like the VFL footballers in the day, mate. They do their work during the week and then come play footy on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
it's totally different.
Yeah, obviously, times have changed. You said, like with football, that they used to train twice a week and play on weekends and have full-time jobs, and now that is their full-time job, getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Rightly so, because there's plenty of money around. But there's stories going, mate, where in the early days with the Collingwood footballers, and going back to say the 20s or so, a lot of them worked in the breweries in the Collingwood area. They'd wear their hobnail boots to work and then put stops on them to play footy on the weekend.
Crazy.
So think about that one.
Probably the same back with the boxing as well. They'd probably share boxing boots and wraps. So
well, I know this for a fact, mate. They used to share protectors.
Protectors, not mouth guards, I think, just the groin protectors.
Well, my first fight, mate, I didn't have a mouth guard. I had a rubber thing that stuck in my mouth, so you just wouldn't get away with it these days.
So just tell us again about back in the day. You would have been obviously around when Lionel Rose won his world title, Johnny Famishon, Jimmy Carruthers. Were you?
Just a fraction before me, and there's a sad story with Jimmy Carruthers, mate. He retired undefeated, and what a great fighter.
Yeah, and then came back, I think, didn't he?
Southpaw he was, and retired undefeated. Come back and was beaten by preliminary fighters, which was, for me, who idolised the guy, just so sad, man.
Because I look back to my early years of boxing. It was Lester Ellis, Jeff Fennick, when they were winning world titles. Yeah. You were there when Johnny Famishon and Lionel Rose were around. Now, these were the days also, and 2 great Melbourne boys, by the way, of course, we've got to throw that in there as well, but when they had, 100,000 people to a parade.
Oh, from the airport, mate, yeah.
It's crazy.
For the reception in the city.
And now these days you struggle to get an article in the paper, and back then you had 100,000 people turn up.
It just sort of shows you what regard boxing was held in back in those days. Lionel Rose and Johnny Famishon, the reception they received at the Melbourne Town Hall. Incidentally, I did see Lionel Rose's first professional fight. First against a guy named Mario Magris, who we met at the boxing reunion not so long back. He was a great little amateur fighter, Mario. And unfortunately, I think he got hurt at work or something, and sort of him and Lionel, I think, fought 3 times or something like that.
But isn't it amazing though that back then, I'll say again, without the social media and internet, all that sort of stuff, that they were so well known, and these parades and just the way they were renowned. It's that's sort of, I must admit, of course I wasn't back then, but I wish it was like today. And I did have a taste of it with Jeff Fennick and Lester Ellis.
Yeah,
they were superstars.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it just shows you, mate, if the media can get behind you, and obviously you've got to keep winning yourself, if the media, a la Tim Zoo and Jeff Horn, it can revive the industry, mate. But the media plays a big part in them.
Yeah, it does.
If they give you 0 coverage, mate, nobody knows about it.
Well, I made the comment last night on Talking Boxing that at all the events we've been to so far, not one person or anyone from the mainstream media. No 7, 9, 10, no newspapers, no radio, nothing, which is...
It tells you a lot, mate, doesn't it?
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
It tells you a lot.
But either way, hey, look, I suppose we've got to spell it out, though, that it's a sold-out event. They're going to sell a shitload of pay-per-views, so I suppose that's one thing, but it is a bit of a shame. But anyway, that's another thing. I suppose, look, you and I could almost do a podcast on all your experiences over the years, mate. You've had a fair old journey.
Once you stir me memories up, mate, about, because I treasure them times, Lyndon, and you know, it's all right for me to say, but you honestly had to be there. All the characters around ringside, as I said to you, mate, there was betting between patrons.
Yeah.
None of that goes on now, and there was, it was just a great time to be there.
Yeah, no, that's good, mate. Well, we could talk all day about your exploits coming up, mate, and I always love talking to you about it as well. Just, I know you just sort of say it off the cuff, but it does. I take it all in and appreciate it. So hopefully everyone out there's appreciate it as well. So I'm sure we'll think of some more stories tomorrow, mate. But that's it for now. Just about to hit the exhibition centre, and we'll catch you tomorrow.